yards deep in the end zone. Graisley works his way out to the 30-yard line before he's brought down by Mel Jenkins. A 69-yard kickoff by J.T. Hay and a run back of 34 yards. Conrad Holloway, the starting quarterback, as we said in our pregame show, something of a surprise. Ian Beckstad has moved into the offensive line because of an injury to Tony Antunovic. The same receiving core with the new addition from Saskatchewan, Cox, in there, and Conrad Holloway, the starting quarterback. First and 10, the ball between the 29 and the 30. Holloway firing to Pearson for a pickup of about 4. Paul Pearson, 3 consecutive 100-yard games. Mark Nelson came over from his linebacking position to make the tackle on Paul Pearson. This is the way Calgary lines up defensively. The same front four. A change at linebacker. Steve Carpenter starting his first game since 1981. And Mel Jenkins is working that cornerback position in place of the injured Larry Hopkins, or Ron Hopkins. Make it 2nd and 5. Les Brown is going to be close to the first down, but linebacker Steve Carpenter was there to make the stop. It may be close enough to require a measurement depending on where they place the ball. Well, they placed the ball back at the 38-yard line, so it is almost 2 yards shy of a first down, and the Toronto Argonauts send in their punting unit. Hank Alisic will kick the ball on 3rd down.
Don, the Argos tried the weak side on 2 occasions. The first 2 times they didn't come to the wide side of the field, so they must feel that they can get over there away from formation, and they have some success running away from the formation tonight.
Product of St. Joseph's High School in Edmonton, and Hank Alisic is going to be called with a time count violation. So the Argonauts will move back 5 yards for this 3rd down punt. Nate Johnson is back on the receiving team along with Greg Peterson. The ball position now at the 33-yard line. Bob Abilovich talking to Conrad Holloway, his starting quarterback. Joe Barnes wearing the headphones in communication with the spotting box upstairs. And if Holloway is unable to get this attack moving for the Argonauts, you will see Barnes in there, I am sure. Now Mel Jenkins has dropped back on the punt return team. He'll take it at the 42-yard line, and he stumbles his way up to about the 46. A gain of 12 for Lewis Walker. First down from just inside the 52. They try to go inside with Carter, and he is piled up right at the line of scrimmage by William Mitchell. The punting game and the kicking game has not been one of the strengths of the Calgary Stampeders this year, but this one will roll into the end zone and through the end zone for a single point. He may be favoring that leg, but last week against the Edmonton Eskimos showed signs that he was returning to form. Conrad Holloway drew the starting assignment against the Edmonton Eskimos, but was replaced by Joe Barnes, and what a performance Barnes turned in. 6 touchdown passes, 2 short of the league record held by Joe Zuger. They swing it out to Steve Cox, and Cox in his 2nd game in the Toronto uniform after being acquired in trade with the Saskatchewan Roughriders has a pickup of 2. Greg Peterson came over to make the tackle.
Greg Peterson is a rookie defensive back from Brigham Young, who's operating as their 6th defensive back in the ballgame. They've gone with that the entire game. I've been watching him to see just who he's following around in there, because he's going with somebody every play.
Steve Barato had a quiet air of confidence about him when we talked with him prior to the start of the ball game. He felt that he'd be able to shut down this Toronto offense, and so far his defensive crew, led this time by Lyle Wozniacki, has done just that.
Well, Ron, as you noticed, they've been working to the short side of the field mostly all evening, and there's 2 sequence of plays. They've run away from the hash marks into the sidelines. That time they did it with a bootleg, but they must feel that Calgary is coming to the strong side with their defense.
Hank Alisic standing at his own 21-yard line for this 3rd down kick. Jenkins and Nate Johnson back in the punt return team. This time a much better Illicik boot. Jenkins takes it, fumbles the ball at the 23, gets it back again, and is stopped at the 30-yard line. Ian Beckstead, the center, was the first man downfield to make the tackle. 41 of the Calgary Stampeders with 9:40 remaining in this opening quarter. Receiver Terry Greer makes the catch inside the 30-yard line for a Toronto first down. Upset there by Mel Jenkins.
Anybody that thinks that Terry Greer is playing it safe can change their mind on that one. He went high in the air to get that, and he knew that he was going to be hit, and he came down with the ball. That looks like the Terry Greer of old.
In the game we did between Toronto and BC, it did look as though that was the first game back for Greer, as though he was favoring that leg injury.
Oh, I think he was. I think that even last week going into the Edmonton game, he was probably still not at 100%. But you see right there how he goes high in the air, takes the hit, gets up and walks away. And you know what the amazing thing is? With Talbot out of there and Greer out of there, you know, these are two key people from their offense from last year. But if they can continue to win with them injuries, once they get healed, they'll be a heck of a football team.
Mike Hamelick, the injured player, he's being replaced by Tom Trefo. Hamelick makes his off-season home in Ottawa. He's involved there in the snow removal business. So, of course, at this time of year, folks aren't thinking about snow. And I don't imagine business is too good either.
That's why he's playing football now. He'll go back there when it's time. That's one place where the Argonauts can't afford to get too many injuries. Their offensive line's hurting a little bit anyway.
Well, they had to make a change with Tony Antunovic injured for this game. Ian Beckstead taking over at center.
Well, it's nice to have a guy like Trefo sitting on the bench, though.
Paul Pearson is caught almost immediately and hauled down by Richie Hall. Richie Hall, the defensive player of the week in the Canadian Football League this past week. There were some who questioned that choice, particularly after the game that Tyrone Jones and Frank Robinson enjoyed on behalf of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers against the British Columbia Lions. Greg Holmes goes wide left. Terry Greer out to the right. Conrad Holloway on 2nd and 8, looking into the end zone. Finds Greer, who came back to the football, but he was out of bounds. Terry Greer made a good move to come back to the quarterback in trouble, but in trying to hang on to that football, he stepped out of bounds, and it will be 3rd and 8.
They double covered him well.
Yeah, he sure did. Conrad does a good job here of getting to the outside, getting his shoulders turned upfield to throw the ball, as you'll see right there. But he just got a little bit out of bounds, and Terry couldn't drag that foot to have it in bounds.
So Hank Illicik now will come into the ball game to attempt 3 points from 35 yards away. Jan Karinci will hold. And it's good. So with 7:53 remaining in this opening quarter, the Toronto
the box.
Hank Illicik waiting for the signal from referee Bud Ulrich. The Argonauts with a chance to move into a first-place tie in the East with the Ottawa Rough Riders. And, of course, the Calgary Stampeders can take over sole possession of first place out west. Quite a logjam at the top of the standings in the West, although Calgary and Edmonton have played one more game than British Columbia and Winnipeg. Good job on the return by Nate Johnson, weaving his way out to the 32-yard cross, the 30-yard line. You can look in this game for the Calgary Stampeders to flood one side of the field in certain formations, in certain situations. That was when Bernard Quarles came on in relief in a couple of games and played well. Swinging it out to Walker, he is hit almost immediately. Fingers jammed in an opponent's helmet last week against the Edmonton Eskimos. Good kick by McTagg on 3rd down. This chases Karinci all the way back to the 4-yard line. And he is brought down at the 14 by Terry Berryman. 72 yards, the length of the kick by Mike McTagg. Isn't that interesting? We were talking to Coach Barano prior to the game about the kicking game, and he said it's been mediocre this year. So far, a 53-yard kick and a 72-yard kick by McTagg.
That's as pretty a kick as you'll see, and Karinci made a heck of a catch running backwards and catching it over his head. That's hard to do.
Did you see Steve Pat McTagg when he come off the field there? There was some talk in the newspaper out here that he had been very critical of McTagg as a punter, And he told us that he really wasn't critical of him. He just said that he hadn't been that effective so far this year, but he certainly has confidence in him or he wouldn't be in there.
Pressure from the backside. Paul Pearson, the intended receiver. Lyle Wozniacki was coming from the backside on quarterback Conrad Holloway, and that's one thing that the Argonauts leave exposed in that passing attack of theirs is the backside.
Well, they feel the quarterbacks, Barnes and Holloway, can roll away from it, and in the BC game, they got a lot of pressure from the backside from Parker and Hebler and Jackson, and tonight they're getting it again. Wozniacki came a long way. You know, he's not really that fast, so if he can get there, it tells you one thing, you can't roll away from it that easy.
2nd and 10, the ball is at the 13. Terry Greer has got it. And then Mel Jenkins has him at the 52-yard line. He turned Larry Hogue inside out, and I would suggest that Terry Greer is back in form.
Well, that was an extremely well-thrown ball by Conrad Holloway, too. It was a deep pass, 40-45 yards down the field. And Terry just went right in there, and the defense was about as close as possible to it. Terry didn't see that tackle coming from the outside there, and he got a good jolt, but apparently he's okay.
39 yards the gain.
Just a little bit misplayed by Hogue. If he could have got there a second sooner, he just didn't quite get there, but as you say, well executed.
Terry Greer on the sidelines, overthrown. He was out of bounds anyway.
I think Steve Bratto feels defensively a lot like Donnie Matthews from the BC Lions feels, and they both coached together out at BC when Steve was his defensive coordinator, that if you can get that run and shoot, the quarterback to pull up and not give him the extension to the outside where he gets the time to look for his receivers, that the offside rush can get there and do some damage with him, and that's what they're planning on doing. But that time the defensive end didn't get there, and Conrad had some time to throw it.
2nd and 10 from the 51. The Argos lead by a score of 3-1. Throwing deep for Cox. He's got it. He'll score.
Nothing complicated there, Don. Just one-on-one coverage. Richie Hall on Cox. Cox just goes down the field and beats him to the inside, and Holloway throws it away from the defender. It's awful easy when you get it like that.
And what's the rule on a blitz defense, Ron?
Take the inside away. Don't give him the post.
And you got to get there with that defensive line, because if you don't get there, you create a one-on-one situation. And no matter how good that defensive back is downfield, he's at an imposition when he's going one-on-one with a good receiver like Cox. And that's what happened right there. He just got beat.
What a debut last week against the Edmonton Eskimos in his first game in an Argo uniform. Steve Cox with 7 receptions for 157 yards. Tonight in his second game against the Calgary Stampeders, a 58-yard touchdown pass. Conrad Holloway to Steve Cox. The point after attempt by Hank Olisic. And with 4:30 remaining in this opening quarter, the Toronto Argonauts have moved in front of the Calgary Stampeders by a score of 10-1.
Comes here. He'll come around, clean up the middle. You'll get a fake right here, and Lester Brown's going to make a heck of a block on a big tackle, and that's going to give Conrad time to throw. He picks him up, and that gives him time, and then Cox just beats him. No problem.
Jenkins in the end zone concedes the single point on a booming kickoff by Hank Olisic of 77 yards, and it's now 11-1. The Toronto Argonauts in front of the Calgary Stampeders.
He doesn't give a little ground, run away from him.
Oh, coming right up the middle was Earl Wilson to drop Quarles back at the 25-yard line.
There, and he just let him go right past him. The quarterback will tell him about that Monday in the movies.
Might tell him about it before then. 2nd and 16. Walker works his way out to the original line of scrimmage, the 35-yard line, but again the Stampeders are forced to kick the football away. Walker ranking 6th among CFL rushers with 211 yards coming into this game. Carinci out to the 40-yard line. He was driven back. They may mark it at about the 39. Carinci and Steve Cox working on the punt return unit for the Toronto Argonauts. Paul Bennett, of course, would have difficulty fielding that football with that cast that he does have on the left hand.
Yeah, that cast, when you're trying to catch that ball and the hands in front of it, if that ball hits that cast wrong, it's fumbled. They're doing a wise thing. Keep him out of there.
Yes, it would certainly impede his ability to catch the football, but it hasn't happened to him so far in playing that safety position. receiver, and that ball just squirted away from him. Some of the fans thought it should have been a reception and a fumble, but he really never had possession.
That's the thing that Conridge will do real well. When that defense backs off, or those linebackers give some leverage to those inside receivers, he'll look them up right now and hit them with two-step drops or one-step drops as soon as they're uncovered.
Second and 10. The ball just shy of the 40-yard line. Holloway tried to throw it, had it slip right out of his hand, and was very fortunate to get it back at the 35. And I think that's what you call the Argo bounce.
Conridge will call it a lot of things, but it won't be the Argo bounce.
That's going to make one of those pictures that they show later on.
You got it. Let's look at it.
Bobbles of the week. Oops.
Oops. That's a little embarrassing.
That's right. Get a stick and kill it.
You ever have any embarrassing things happen to you playing quarterback, Ron?
Every game.
How about the time you lined up behind the guard rather than the center?
I liked him better.
Nate Johnson takes it at the 40-yard line, and at the 42 is stopped by Darrell Wilson. Incomplete, intended for Mike McTagg. Quarles throwing deep down the sidelines, incomplete. It's second and 10 from the 53. Quarles throwing down the sidelines again. Touchdown. Oh, no. Nate Johnson was tripped up. I thought he was gone. Carl Graisley just got a foot on him. I was all set to concede the touchdown to Johnson with that great speed because he was in behind Graisley, but the defensive back tripped him up.
Well, Ron, this is another example right here of a blitz coming and not getting there, and he just hangs that ball up in the air there and says, Nate, run under it.
Well, you see all those defensive backs up there like that, like we could see, and then he just takes off and runs. If you saw Quarles throw the ball, he only took 2 steps.
Bombers then traded to Saskatchewan, and this year to the Stampeders. Little razzle-dazzle, but Lewis Walker is dropped way back at the 25-yard line. The loss of even more as Vince Goldsmith got to quarterback Bernard Quarles back at the 30-yard line.
Well, that's just a case of an individual effort. Goldsmith beat the tackle to the outside, which you can't allow happen. Coming from the right of your screen, you see Goldsmith will get around Kersinger, and he just gets that left arm up there as he's starting to throw, and the ball pops free. Boy, it's loose a long time.
James Curry was the man who recovered that ball. And Lester Brown on the offensive thrust of the Toronto Argonauts is stopped after a pickup of about 1 by Walter Ballard. Well, it looked as though the Calgary Stampeder offensive unit was going to move in for some points after a big pass to Nate Johnson. Then a questionable call on the final play of the opening quarter got them into difficulty, and then the fumble turned the ball over to the Toronto Argonauts. And now it is 2nd and 9 as Jan Carinci is in for Toronto. Steve Cox goes out. To Jan Carinci on the screen, and he trips over one of his own players. I believe he collided with Ian Beckstead, and the Toronto Argonauts are stopped short of a first down.
Well, they had the screen set out there to Carinci, but what happened was he tried to give a little bit of ground and get behind his blockers. Just couldn't do it.
3 all Concord. And a reminder for all fans out in Vancouver, that is a 7 o'clock start. Richie Hall at his 18-yard line on this punt return. Working back to the 38-yard line, stopped there by William Mitchell. 1st and 10 now from the 38-yard line. Pass complete for a first down to Mike McTagg at the 52. But there is a flag on the play in the Calgary backfield. Lamont Meacham is there to make
McTagg good because you know you're going to get hit.
Incomplete, intended for Nate Johnson. Setting up the screen to Carter. Stopped at the 45-yard line by Earl Wilson. The Argonauts getting off to a slow start this year, though. In preseason, they were 1-3. The ball sails into the end zone, and Cox is going to concede the single point.
You know, Don, we're talking about Wilson. You know, Earl Wilson did not practice with the Argonauts yesterday. The doctors put him in bed. He's got some sort of an infection in his throat. He's had a little flu fever or whatever you want to call it, a little virus going around. He stayed in bed until today. But talking to Joe Moss today, he said he's going to play tonight. We'll just see how long he can go.
Well, he has played very well so far through a quarter and almost 4 minutes.
Well, maybe if he, if he plays really well tonight, he won't have to practice anymore before the games.
Now, although the Argos had a slow start in their exhibition season, Don, they're leading the league right now, not only in total yardage offensively, but also in passing.
11-2. The Argos in front with a first down at the 35-yard line. Penalty flag in the play. Wide open is Steve Cox. He possesses some ability to run with the ball after catching it as well. Stopped there by Mel Jenkins, but the penalty flag in that Argonaut backfield, that usually indicates holding against the offensive team.
What you're going to see, watch Paul Pearson come across the field, and Cox is going to go down the field about 15 yards and right into the open area. And as you say, Don, he does run well with that football after he makes the catch. Pearson goes underneath, and watch it open up right in the middle. Wide open. Can't miss it. All goes for naught, though, because it's coming back for holding. But it was well executed. He does run well with the ball after he catches it.
We'll see him come back to that, too. Boy, that opened up like a suitcase. When that happens, he'll come back to it.
Well thrown ball. Drilled it right where it had to be. Cox was there waiting on it.
First and 20 now, back at the 25-yard line. 10:54, the time left in the half. Toronto in front, 11-2. Pressure from Ballard, and Conrad Holloway had to do a sidearm job of attempting to release that football.
Well, the Argonauts love to throw those screen passes.
They like to throw that one right there.
Screen.
They love to throw that one, Ronnie, to Bronk. But he just didn't have the time, and he had to throw it sidearm.
He probably didn't know where it was coming from. He's used to looking coming over the top. That one come out of nowhere. A little meeting going on the sidelines there. Barato and Quarles and John Lowry, their offensive line coach. Saw them a minute ago.
Second and 20 from the 25. From the backside, Lyle Wozniacki, and we will have the Woz Tusi as the Wizard of Woz celebrates the quarterback sack. I think he's got 8 now for the season.
Well, he's playing well for Calgary. He was a defensive star of the week, I think, the first week of the season. Develop, but you can't expect a quarterback to have this much time. He has time to throw it, but there's Woz. Conyers does a good thing there. He pulls it down and puts it right in front of him. Says, okay, I'll get sacked, but I'm not going to fumble.
Third and 26. Olisic standing back at his own 4-yard line. Jenkins takes it at the 35. Oh, he is upset at the 45 by William Mitchell. A kick of 56 yards and a return of 10. Quarles chased him. Argonauts have had some penalties that have kept Calgary drives alive. This is deep for Nate Johnson. Second and 10. The ball is at the 48. 8:57 the time remaining in the half. Quarles throwing deep for Massey. First down to the 20-yard line, but there's also a penalty flag in the play.
Be the Montreal Concord going into BC after that game.
Second and 25. Quarles is in trouble. He is tripped up. David Boone got a hand on Bernard Quarles as he attempted to run out of there.
We might note that Sam Bowie is an All-American basketball player.
Pretty good difference in height. 1 foot between 6'1" Rick Massey and Sam Bowie at 7'1". Steve Cox stopped at the 20-yard line with 7:58 remaining in the first half by Les Kaminsky. And that's where the Toronto Argonauts will scrimmage when we return to McMahon Stadium in Calgary with the Argos in front 11-2 this evening either. I think both the horse and the rider are getting a little bored over there waiting for something to happen. The Calgary Stampeders offensively have not been able to do much so far. Lester Brown, the ball carrier, tripped up by Mel Jenkins. A gain of 2 yards. It will be 2nd and 8.
He wanted to cut that in, but nowhere to go. And when you force him, always force that play to the outside, and you got a guy out there waiting on him, and that's what they did.
Holloway sends Greer out to the right. Going wide left is Jeff Townsend. Ballard from the backside. The pass intended for Terry Greer. He was sent flying out of bounds by Jenkins. But Ballard was really storming in from the backside on Holloway.
Well, you watch all these defensive backs are up close. Watch this man right here, number 57, comes to the outside, and this is one thing quarterbacks don't like. You cannot see him coming, and watch the hit that he puts on Holloway. That hurts, but you don't see him.
You know, you were citing some statistics earlier today, Ron, about the Calgary Stampeders against the pass and the run. They have been very strong this year.
I think it's 3.3 they've given up against the run and only 4.7 yards per completed pass. That's not enough to make a first down.
Defensively, they rank about 5th in the league, though, in terms of total defense.
Peterson on the punt return, stopped at the 39-yard line by Mike Hamelick.
Again, I'm going to mention that they're playing against a very underestimated defense.
Philip Carter fights his way out to the 45-yard line. 5:48 is the time remaining here in the first half as Bernard Quarles, looking over the middle, throws incomplete, but there is a penalty flag on the play on 2nd and 5. Stampeder offense has shown flashes of brilliance at various times this season. I harken back to a game we did early in the year, Ottawa and Calgary, where they moved the ball very, very effectively, but lost the football game.
Well, there's another
what a kick by McTagg. And Carinci does a good job of returning the ball to the 25-yard line. Stopped there by Les Kaminsky. A 57-yard punt by Mike McTagg. A run back of 17 yards by Dan Carinci. Final instructions from head coach Bob Abilovich to Conrad Holloway for this next Argonaut offensive series. Two years ago, Conrad Holloway, the Shenley Award winner, is the outstanding performer in the Canadian Football League. Out of the University of Tennessee, an outstanding baseball player as well, a prospect drafted by the Montreal Expos.
If you look
Expos could use some help these days. Sideline pattern intended for Terry Greer. It will be 2nd and 10.
If you look real close, Don, you can denote that Conrad is wearing the rib pads. It makes him look like he's overweight, but he's wearing those rib pads, and he always has had problems with injuries to his ribs. And Ron, I would think that this would be a little bit of a deterrent to his throwing action, but he gets the ball off pretty well.
No, they aren't. They really aren't. And you better wear them. Every quarterback I know has had a few rib problems somewhere along the line. You've got to be able to protect those ribs, and their flak jackets now are light, real light.
Holloway has some running room. He'll have the first down and much more out to the 45. A pickup of 20 yards, stopped by Steve Carpenter.
That's just an excellent job of him. You'll see him roll out. Paul Pearson's going to be down the field about 15 yards out toward the sidelines, and that brings all the red jerseys to him, and then Condensed just cuts right back in away from him, and he had a lot of open territory.
Ballard gave up the contain that time, though. There's no excuse for that outside man on the line of scrimmage to ever give the quarterback the option of getting to the outside and turning up the field. That's going to happen every time he gets that opportunity.
Terry Greer, the intended receiver, penalty flag. Interference called against Jenkins.
That's another very interesting call. I hope we get to look at that again. You see the ball's on his way? I think it's right. A good call. He had the position to catch the football. The defensive back interfered with him. It's a good call.
Legal interference, Calgary number 28, first down.
1st and 10 for the Toronto Argonauts. The ball is at the 52 out Calgary. 3:47 is the time remaining in the half. 11-2, the Argos lead. Quickly inside, And Lester Brown breaks it open. He's going all the way.
Boy, you better tackle that guy when he gets his hands on the ball because he's got the great balance. It was just another question, Ron, of being an uncovered man and him just stepping back and hitting him. Go ahead.
Well, there's nothing to it. Lester Brown gets right out here. Now, he just goes right into this seam and gets there before this linebacker can get out to him. And watch how quick Conridge gets rid of the ball. He doesn't even take a step, just stands up and hits him, and then he just breaks a couple tackles. And I know Lester, when he gets open field, you're not going to catch him. He's got good speed. But that's Conridge Holloway got rid of that ball about as quick as you can ask anybody to.
Well, they're not going to like that.
52 yards for the touchdown for Lester Brown. In the Toronto offense, is that a read between the quarterback and the receiver, or is that a design play?
It's a design play, and it's a quarterback read. It's the quarterback's responsibility to see it. The receiver's going to run that route regardless, and if he's open, the quarterback's going to dump it quick. He makes that decision before that ball snaps.
Point after by Hank Olisic. He puts it through. So with 3:33 remaining in the half, the Toronto Argonauts have opened up a 16-point lead. Toronto 18, Calgary 2. Another booming kickoff by Hank Olisic. This time Nate Johnson decides to try and get it out of the end zone, and he succeeds in bringing it back to the 20-yard line.
No, they sure haven't. They haven't directed many passes to anybody. They're having their problems.
Well, he better be careful here.
Bernard Poro's looking for the sidelines, but he is going to go out of bounds. Stopped short of the first down, and I think had he turned his head upfield, he could have picked up that first down.
May have come close down, but the one thing that he did accomplish with this, and that's that he improved his position as far as his punter was concerned, because his punter would have been kicking right out of the end zone.
At halftime, an abbreviated version of the CBC National News, we will have a live report from Los Angeles, where the opening ceremonies take place tomorrow afternoon, and of course you'll see it on CBC television. And you'll see during the next 2 weeks 190 hours. As a matter of fact, closer to 200 hours of live.
Kind of looking forward to that. I enjoy that.
Jan Carinci on the third down punt to the 50-yard line. A 41-yard kick by Mike McTagg. Yes, I'm looking forward to the Olympic Games following tomorrow night's game in Vancouver between the Concorde and the BC Lions. I'll be heading to Los Angeles and joining the rest of our CBC.
Conridge is go to work here. They can get another one before the half. Calgary's going to have to come up big.
Pretty good field position for the Argos to start this series, but Holloway is decked by Randy Troutman. Holloway was stepping up into the pocket, looking deep downfield when Troutman came up in his face and dumped the Toronto quarterback.
I was just thinking, looking from up here, it looked like the middle almost opened up. But that's a case of when you stepped up in there, got a little bit too close to those big linemen. But it almost opened up for him, and then all of a sudden, number 62 jumped on his back.
This will happen. The guy will slip off a block at the last minute. Boom, there he goes.
If he gets through there, there's nobody for about 30 yards. Great play.
Second and 15 from the 45. Pearson, first down, out of bounds at the Calgary bench at the 48-yard line. And that stops the clock with 2:07 remaining in the half. 18-2 is the score. 17 yards on the pass to Paul Pearson.
This is the play Conridge ran on a while ago. Bronk goes right out in the flat. Pearson will come up the field and right into here, and then Terry Greer just clears it out, and it's really wide open. Watch Pearson. There's not too many people around. You see it open up. He's running to the sideline, makes the catch. They still got a lot of time to get down that field.
Back to the live action. That little swing pass to Jeff Townsend for a pickup of 3, maybe 4 yards.
That's the first ball thrown in his direction tonight, I believe.
I think you're going to see again that Conridge is going to go to the uncovered line or uncovered receiver, because that time the slot back had no one on him at all. It's just a matter of straightening up and hitting him and letting him go right down the seam.
Holloway has completed 10 of 16 attempts for 197 yards. Not a bad half of football for the Toronto quarterback. And this is Pearson out of bounds with another first down inside the 35-yard line. I know Paul Pearson is a great favorite of yours, Leo. He wasn't too popular with Ron Lancaster a few years ago over in Regina.
Can you imagine Ron Lancaster cutting this guy? This guy does everything but blow up the ball before the game. Look at him out there, wide open. Reads the defense about as well as anybody. Of course, in defense of Ron Lancaster, he was playing a wide receiver for Saskatchewan, out of position.
I don't want to hear it.
He has had 3 consecutive 100-yard games. Les Brown picked up just a couple of yards and was stopped there by Walter Ballard. One of 4 games tonight in the Canadian Football League on this weekend. Tomorrow night, Montreal and British Columbia, Winnipeg at Hamilton, and on Sunday, with Jerry Organ being honored at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa, the Ottawa Rough Riders entertain Saskatchewan. Penalty flag on the play. The pass complete to Paul Pearson at the 15, and he stops the clock again as he goes out of bounds at the 13. And again, we remind you at halftime, the national news plus a live report from our Olympic Broadcast Center in Los Angeles. Well, this penalty being assessed against the Toronto Argonauts, taking the ball back to the 41. Let's listen to Bud Ulrich.
Toronto number 56, second down repeated.
Center Ian Beckstead with a holding infraction negates the big gain.
What happens here, Leo? See 21 Brown and Blanc release out of the backfield underneath. That gets the linebacker's attention, and then Pearson goes right over the middle, and he drills it in there. Nice throw. Nice catch.
A play was sent in. I'd be expecting him now to try to get to Greer.
Oh,
The screen pass to Lester Brown. He gets one block on the sidelines and fights his way to the 25-yard line, stopped there by Ray Odoms. Okay, so Lester Brown heading away from all the blockers who were out in front of him on that screen pass.
Well, that play was sent in from the sidelines, and it was an excellent call, really. I thought they were going to go deep, but he faked the deep one and just got the screen in there, and you'll see a block right here that was thrown a little bit low on Moyer right here. That was the defensive back that got in there, but the block was thrown a little bit low on the defensive back, and he went over the defender, or over the blocker, I should say, in order to get the tackle. Had he not done that, it could have been a touchdown.
But as you say, Don, he ran away from his blockers. They set the screen up to the short side. He ran wide.
So on 3rd and 2, a field goal attempt by Hank Olisic, and it is good. So with 50 seconds remaining, the 30-yard field goal, 33-yard field goal makes it a 21-2 game in favor of the Toronto Argonauts. And after a slow
Exhibition season, but he's brought the team back, and they look like they're ready to play again.
The ball strikes the crossbar. It is automatically ruled dead and will come out to the 25-yard line.
Okay.
Quarles drills it to Nate Johnson, incomplete.
But he's shy on that.
He's not exactly sure what he's doing out there yet. It's going to take him some time.
He almost fumbled that snap.
Doing damned if you don't.
You got that right, Leo.
Steve Cox, the only man back on this punt return at the 45-yard line, and is spun down as he gets up to the 51 by Phil Sharon. And 30 seconds remain in the half. But if the Argos get a first down or 2, they're in position for Hank Olisic to kick another field goal before the half ends.
Well, you have a 21-2 lead in 30 seconds. You would think the Argonauts would be content to go in and relax and just kill this clock. But you know what? This is where you get valuable experience in practice. It's a game practice. You are actually in competition. You see Steve Cox running with the football. He just gets dragged down. But if Conridge, as you say, can hit 2 passes quick, he's got time for another field goal. And this is great practice for your your hurry-up offense.
Now they got real good field position, so they don't have to worry about getting in trouble.
Screen to Lester Brown. Fumbles the football. Toronto got it back. Cox pounced on the ball. And that's a first down for the Argos. Mark Nelson made the hit on Lester Brown on the screen. You see that Cox has lost part of his jersey on that punt return. It was ripped away.
Well, they came back with that screen that they ran a while ago. This time Lester follows the blocker. They're coming in from the left side. He gets hit. The ball is loose, and they actually recover the ball for the first down.
19 seconds remaining. Deep down the sidelines. Incomplete. Intended for Terry Greer. Good coverage by Jenkins. With 11 seconds remaining. Still time for 2 plays. Terry Greer, who last year went over 2,000 yards in pass receptions, And, of course, he also established the single-season record for catches, 113.
Ball wasn't thrown real well. Didn't get it out in front of him, and Terry really does a good job of preventing an interception.
You better get up in the air when you're with Terry Greer, or he'll take it out of your hands. Now, they've got two options here. One of throwing a quick sideline pass, getting field position for the field goal, and the other for going for the end zone.
Throw it quick.
Sideline pattern for Greer. There appeared to be a bit of a mix-up. Jenkins defending.
Terry messed that one up. Condensed let that ball go before he broke on the out, and Terry decided to take it upfield. Boy, when that happens, that guy could go down the sidelines with it in a hurry.
There's nobody left if that defensive back could have got his hands on that ball. Coach Obilovich is saying, Conridge, you're going to make an old man out of me.
Well, Hank Kalisic comes into the ball game. He'll be punting on third down. No, he's going to try a field goal.
He can reach it.
53 yards. The field goal attempt upcoming by Hank Kalisic.
Well, it's
long enough. It's good.
About 13 yards deep in the end zone, too.
That could have been a 65-yard field goal.
Hank Kalisic got everything into that one again. And it's now 24-2. Toronto in front of the Stampeders with just 2 seconds. Big touchdown in that opening quarter for the Toronto Argonauts. How would you like to take a look at it and describe it for us?
We knew they were playing man-to-man bump and run. And Hall, he kind of gave me outside. So I just ran around and, Condensed told me to go up, and I just went up, And after that, it was just a foot race,
Well, you did a great thing, too, in heading for the end zone. You saw that if you went straight, he could probably get the angle on you, but heading for that flag, there was no chance of the defensive back catching it.
Yeah, I used the speed there.
Well, a great first-half performance, Steve Cox. Congratulations. We hope you have many more in the CFL.
All right, thanks a lot.
Steve Cox with a first-half touchdown.
Oh, it sure won't. It won't do much for him.
Barrett is going to run with it. No room as he's hauled down at the 29 by James Curry.
The way he's playing, I'd say, you don't need to inspire him. He's ready.
Good third down kick by Mike McTighe, taken by Jan Korinsky, and he is down at the 35 by Ken Miller. Past few years, visiting Calgary for the first time since he played here. The first pass by Joe Barnes aimed in the direction of Terry Greer. It falls incomplete.
Very wisely thrown out of bounds because they had Terry Greer covered short and deep. He had nowhere to go. Barnes threw it to the bench.
A great luxury, Leo, you have talked about a number of times in the past, having two quarterbacks both capable of starting.
Yeah, both, when they get their chance, both get in there and do a job like Joe did last week. Conridge was a little cold. Joe went in and threw 6 touchdown passes. Now Joe's coming in the wake of a big lead. Normally doesn't do as well when he's ahead as he does when he's behind.
Well, of course, fans will recall that he came off the bench last year in the Grey Cup game to win Most Valuable Player honors offensively. Terry Greer is hauled down at the 43-yard line by Mel Jenkins, short of the first down by about 3 yards.
Now, Calgary is supposed to have 2 running backs, Lewis Walker and Phil Carter, that they're really proud of, that both are supposed to be excellent running backs. And I don't know why they don't use them a little bit more in the wake of the pass defense that the Argos are setting up against them. I haven't seen anybody open as far as Calgary receivers are concerned in quite some time. They ought to start using their running. They got a whole half here to score a couple touchdowns and loosen the Argos up a little bit.
Well, I know you liked what you saw last week in Winnipeg when the Blue Bombers unleashed Willard Reeves for 167 rushing yards.
Anytime that you play against BC and they've got that kind of a force coming on you, there's got to be some seams in there, and it's the same way with the Argos right now. I think you got to run against them a little bit.
Under pressure, looking for Tommy Scott. Get the first down. He slides into the 53-yard line of the Toronto Argonauts. Up to Lewis Walker. Walker broke a couple of tackles, but then is straightened up at the 50-yard line by Dennis Clay.
That Toronto Argonaut defense is tough.
Sideline pattern, and Some good maneuvering by Mike McTagg for a first down. Stopped by Dennis Clay. 10, the ball is at the 27-yard line into the end zone, way over the head of Nate Johnson.
Should have control of the game, and they can't have something like this happen.
Barrett fumbles the football. Toronto recovers. Don Moan comes up with the football. That's twice now when the Stampeders have been in position to score. Expected by Mel Jenkins. He'll score.
You see Joe Rhodes was right here, gets the ball in there, and Jenkins makes a great recovery to the football, takes it right out of the hands of the receiver and just turns it on right straight downfield, finds the seam, and will not be denied, takes it into the end zone. And, you know, as much as the Calgary Stampeders have been taken advantage of, they can get back in this ball game.
32-yard interception return for a touchdown. And with 9:02 remaining in the third quarter, it's now 24-9. The Toronto Argonauts leading the Calgary Stampeders. Covering that fumble, but the interception may change things around. This is Carl Braisley on the kickoff return. Brought down inside the 25-yard line by Ken Moore.
Really got it.
A return of 13 yards by Carl Braisley on that kickoff. They rule that he got up to the 25-yard line. That's where the Toronto Argonauts are scrimmaging, 1st and 10. Joe Barnes is going to run this one, and he'll get the first down, but there's a penalty flag on the play. Steve Carpenter came in to make the tackle. Carpenter has been with the team since training camp, but as we mentioned earlier, his first starting assignment since 1981. And that run by Joe Barnes will be wiped out by a penalty against Toronto.
Well, Joe just finds the hole, starts running. It's too bad his receivers were covered. He made a good play, but it's going to come back. Boy, holding him just kills the drive.
Well, Steve Cox had his jersey ripped late in the first half, and he is now wearing number 31 for the Toronto Argonauts. Toronto has been assessed 94 yards in penalties so far. Barnes to the sidelines for Paul Pearson. And he's taken out of bounds by Larry Hogue at the 25-yard line.
It's a good play by Pearson. He's the short man on that pattern. Just went out and stood on the sidelines. Barnes found him, and that gets them back to 10 yards that they lost for holding. So now it's 2nd and 10.
5 receptions so far for Paul Pearson. Pearson, the #1 receiver in the entire league now, with 34 for the year. Terry Greer with the screen. First down, Toronto, as he takes it to the 50-yard line. Forced out of bounds at that point, but it was Ian Beckstead who threw a big block to spring Terry Greer loose, and he gets up limping in front of that Calgary Stampeder bench.
Boy, he looked like he was hurt a little bit, too.
If you just look, Don, right here, the Calgary Stampeders have all their people up. Their defensive backs are up and everything. They have everything. Joe just does a real quick turn, throws that quick screen out to Terry Greer, and as you said, Beckstead and those boys get out in front of him, and he gets in behind them. Watch.
Terry Greer is the lone receiver away from the entire formation. All those offensive linemen just go out and kick out the would-be guys coming up from the secondary to make the play, and Greer cuts in behind them. It looks here like Greer twisted his knee. And that could be, he can't put any pressure on it as he's walking off the field, and with Emmanuel Tolbert out of there and him back on the limp again, all of a sudden one of the best pass receiving corps in the league is decimated.
Boy, you don't want him out of that lineup very long.
Terry Greer, runner-up for the Shenley Award last year, as the outstanding player in the Canadian Football League. He has had injury problems this year, and unless it is absolutely necessary, I would suspect that Terry Greer might not be back in this ball game. First and 10 from the 50-yard line. Barnes throwing for Lester Brown. He was wide open.
It almost looks like he didn't see the ball. He looked over his shoulder, and if there was a sun out tonight, I would say that the sun got in his eyes, but the ball went right through his arms, and it didn't look like he saw the football.
That's amazing. That one's hard to believe that the ball wasn't caught. Again, it's that pattern that they like to throw where they clear it out, and Lester's going to come right into this area, and boy, is he open. And Barnes throws it, and it almost looks like he doesn't even see the football. It's right out there. He just dropped it.
Right through his hands.
Second and 10 from the 50. Toronto in front, 24-9. Penalty flag on the play as Townsend was the intended receiver. Holding will be the call against Toronto.
And when you give a team that was beaten as badly and outclassed as badly as Calgary was that first half, give them a little bit of a crack in the dike, and they're liable to take advantage of it.
So the penalty is declined by the Calgary Stampeders as they force the Argos into a punting situation. You know, when you look at that Calgary Stampeder defensive unit, and Ron, you cited some of the statistics as to how they perform against both the pass and the run, but I think they are missing James West out there at that linebacking position. Not to take away from Steve Carpenter, but 3 or 4 times during the course of a ball game, West will give you that big play.
You betcha. You'll miss him anytime. He's a heck of a football player. You don't want to lose any of those kind of people.
Nate Johnson trying to get outside, but a good job by the Toronto Argonauts of covering. William Mitchell and Darrell Wilson did not give up their lanes, and Johnson is brought down at the 10. That's where the Calgary Stampeders will scrimmage when we restore Summer Olympics from Los Angeles. This is a moment that I think Danny Barrett would have enjoyed missing as the pressure was applied. He managed to hand the ball off somehow to Jeff Inglis in that pile-up of players, but the Calgary Stampeders are forced into a kicking situation again, and the man in the middle, number 74, James Curry. Not one of McTagg's better kicks. It's taken by Carinci at the 45. He spins his way into the 33-yard line. Just a 33-yard kick by Mike McTagg. Mel Jenkins was there to make the tackle on Jan Carinci, but he had a run back of 10 yards on that third down punt. He does just about everything for the Toronto Argonauts. He plays such a wide variety of positions. He's a most valuable performer.
I saw him earlier. He's back on those punt returns, and on one of the punt returns, his buddy caught it back there, his partner, and he made a great block. He just flattened the guy. And tell you what, he can win and play slot back. He returns punts and kickoffs. He can run with a football, and he receives passes. And that's just about all you can do.
Mel Jenkins, who has scored the lone touchdown for the Stampeders, a 32-yard return of a
1977 or 78, I can't remember which year it was, but he was as final-looking specimen at that time as he is today. Since then, he went 4 years to the University of Maryland and became quite a pass receiver.
Well, you see Jenkins at the bottom of the screen makes the tackle. Let's see if we can find out what happened. Oh, one of his own men landed on him. One of his own men landed on him.
Barnes was hit just as he threw by Randy Troutman, and I think he hit Steve Wilburn with the football. He was looking deep downfield, but Randy Troutman had hold of him.
Well, he just runs out of time. You can see Troutman just gets around him just as the ball is released. Hit Wozniacki. He almost caught it.
It's one of those kind that you can bobble a little bit and the lineman can pick it up and become a hero.
Randy Troutman out of Boise State making the big play there for the Calgary Stampeders. It's 2nd and 10 from the 34-yard line. Throwing deep, incomplete, looking for Steve Cox. He got a hand on it. But it will be 3rd and 10. And that will bring Hank Alisic in the ball game to attempt another field goal.
I'll tell you, he threw that ball about as well as you can throw it on the run going to your left. And he just hung it right over Steve Cox's shoulder, and Steve did get a hand on it. Could have made the catch.
Pretty nice throw. As you say, Leo, he put it right where it had to be. Right in behind Hall. Watch him go. Almost pulled it down with one hand.
41-yard field goal attempt by Hank Alisic with 4:08 remaining in the third quarter. It's good. And it's now 27-9. The Argos in front of the Calgary Stampeders. Barrett throwing deep. He has it picked off by Lamont Meacham. Back to the 40-yard line as the Argos take over again with 3:36 remaining in the third quarter. 10 Toronto throwing the screen. Jan Carinci has a first down to the 27-yard line. We talked about the number of different things that Jan Carinci does for the Toronto Argonauts. He had a rather frightening experience this past winter. He and Roland Mangold, coming out of a restaurant, were stabbed in an assault case. Fortunately, both were able to recover.
It's a good thing for the Argonauts. He does a lot of things.
He's down around Niagara Falls area, and when you're away from home, you never know what you're going to bump into, and it's a good idea not to get involved in those altercations.
Jeff Townsend to the sidelines. He should have another first down. Taken out of bounds by Ray Odoms.
That's executed about as well as you want. He just goes down, stops, turns around. He hits him with the football, and then he just wheels to the outside and gets 10 yards.
Well, the Argos early in this ball game lost linebacker Darrell Nicholson. In the third quarter, they lost Terry Greer. Mike Emery in there at the linebacking position, and
Vince
Greg Holmes. And Vince Goldsmith thrown out of the game. Greg Holmes in there. He's the receiver to the 5-yard line, replacing Terry Greer.
Well, that's a nice catch. That is a nice catch.
The ball was well thrown, but he had to really hold on to it because he knew he was going to be hit.
All that happens is Cox goes straight to the flat. He just runs a slant, and that ball and that defender arrive right at the same time. Barnes drills it in, and they arrive at the same time, and he holds on to the football.
It's now first and goal, Toronto from the 5-yard line. The Argos now threatening to make a runaway at this one. Touchdown into the end zone for Paul Pearson. And Leo Cahill is standing up and cheering again.
Well, what Paul Pearson did that time was just go down the field, turn to the inside, looked like he was going to block somebody, and when the defender passed him, he just turned in, they threw him the football.
That's exactly right. It looked like it was going to be a pick play. Pearson goes down and just stands there, and then just turns back to the inside and doesn't really run a pattern at all, but he's wide open sitting in there. And Barnes finds him. Nobody near him.
Paul Pearson, the leading receiver in the Canadian Football League, with his 4th touchdown catch of the year. 1:45, the time remaining in the third quarter. Hank Alisic with the point after. That's his 16th point of the ball game. Big night for the Argo place kicker and punter. And it's now 34-9. Toronto in front of the Calgary Stampeders.
And look at him look to the inside now when he gets down here like he's going to block somebody right there. And then he just goes right past him, goes in there and turns to the inside, and there's the ball.
How open was he, Leo?
Open as a white goat on a mountain.
All right.
Well, the Argonauts and the Calgary Stampeders have a history of high-scoring games. Last year, the first time they met, Calgary won 49-20 in Toronto. Should say that was the second time they met. Their first meeting, July 7th, here in Calgary. It was Toronto 45 and Calgary 30. Paul Pearson scoring the touchdown for the Argos.
Paul's been around a while. He's 27 years old, but he's just getting better all the time. And he really understands the offense. And it's a very deceptive offense, and he can get himself open.
Look at that kick.
This guy has done a job tonight.
Nate Johnson unable to field it in the end zone. It's another single point on the kickoff for Hank Alisic. An 85-yard kick that time, and it's now 35-9. The Argos in front, the 17th point tonight for Hank Alisic.
And then not many teams are able to handle it.
pass incomplete. It was intended for Phil Sharon. Trouble again. He throws it up there, intended for Sharon. He makes the catch. Barrett paid the price on that one. Was he decked as he threw the ball up there?
Well, we just mentioned number 39, William Mitchell. I don't know if we'll get a chance to see him, but William Mitchell just drops out of there. There he is, number 39 in the middle linebacker position. He drops back to the outside, and he's looking downfield, looking for something. Here comes Barrett. Now watch the hit. Boy, that hurts. It's a great adjustment by Sharon.
It really was a great adjustment.
So look at the throw. Can't throw any better. Gets outside of Clay and makes the catch.
Oh, again. Barrett decked by William Mitchell. Mitchell just ran right over top of him.
I want you to watch it. If we see it on a replay, we'll see not only Mitchell, but Curry. The two guys we're talking about have played well tonight. Watch the two of them.
And that was the final play of this third quarter. The incomplete pass. It will be 2nd and 10 Calgary as they trail Toronto 35-9 after 3 quarters of play. Barrett felt that when he's gone to the bench. Bernard Quarles to start this fourth quarter is back in at quarterback. Intended for Tommy Scott. It's incomplete, knocked away by Clay.
Bernard throws it. Oh, if he'd have been any later, he could have got him in the huddle. I mean, he was a little late.
Danny Barrett is back in on first down. Barrett into the end zone, incomplete. The intended receiver was Tommy Scott.
You know what, Don? Curry was so late on that hit on the quarterback. This is when you take some other extreme measures to slow a guy like that down. Well, we'll see. Tommy Scott has been nowhere tonight. Barrett's back in, but he threw that and out of bounds. But he hasn't caught a ball yet.
Well, on the season, Tommy Scott has only caught 10 passes.
You watch Tommy Scott come off the line of scrimmage right here and go downfield, and he runs the same kind of patterns that he ran at Edmonton, but you've heard that old song, I Left My Heart in San Francisco. It looks, for all intent and purposes, like he may have left a little heart in Edmonton. He just doesn't seem like the same player.
Oh.
Touchdown, Nate Johnson.
We'll tell you, Barrett was under a lot of pressure.
And it's 35-60. 78-yard kickoff by J.T. Hay. Barnes throwing to the sidelines, intended for Holmes. He was hit almost immediately by Jenkins.
Boy, Jenkins, for being in his first year, is not a bad defensive football player. He read that, and he just come flying. And he arrived up there to make the hit. He must not have been hurt too bad.
Jenkins out of the University of Cincinnati. Watch his timing on this one.
See, the ball's in the air, and he makes collision about the same time the ball gets there. Plays the man. He didn't see the ball up in the air. He might have been able to pick that ball off.
2nd and 10 from the 35. Barnes this time completes the pass to Greg Holmes for a first down. They rule that he got to the 50-yard line.
Boy, Holmes ran a nice pattern. He went down the field and made a fake like he was going to go out toward the bench and then just curled inside him. Barnes delivered it right on time, hit him right in the numbers.
Well, the thing about having a guy like Joe Barnes and Conrad Holloway in there is that some bad things can happen and the other team can score, but look at the confidence here. He just shucks it right in there, right where it has to be, and you know, he needs the first down to keep the ball on the move and to keep it away from Calgary, and he gets it.
Greg Holmes out of Carroll College making the reception, and this is Les Brown for a pickup of 4 yards, stopped by Ken Moore with 12:44 remaining in the football game.
You know, at the stage of the ball game right now, there's no question that the Calgary Stampeders have to go for it with the passing game. But on defense, they've got to take some chances too, Ron. They've got to go after Joe Barnes and see if they can't force him into a mistake or an interception or something. They can't play just back there and waiting for him to work on him piece by piece until he takes the ball all the way down the field.
That's right. Go get him. Force him to throw the ball off balance a little bit. And when he throws it off balance, the ball's up in the air, and sometimes your guy can come down with it.
Got a Hammerluck in there making a couple of practice snaps over on the sidelines. I thought it was a hurry-up offense for a minute.
Thought maybe it was Winnipeg shoestring play the way they were lining up over there. But what had happened is Ian Beckstead had to head off for at least one play, so as a result, Hamiluk was coming in to play center.
See, that's
and they
what
fumbled
happened.
the football, and Joe Barnes was fortunate to get it back.
That's what happens on that exchange when you got a strange center in there. That's a different sequence, a different routine, and it just resulted in a fumble. And Joe Barnes, as you say, was lucky enough to come up with the ball himself.
Well, what you can do is just line up behind the guard, as a certain quarterback I know once did.
Well, you know, this play is the simplest play in football. You know, you practice and practice and practice, and all of a sudden you put a guy there that's never snapped it before, and that's the result.
That's what you call feeling your way around for the ball, Joe Barnes.
You can't have that.
I'll tell you, there's nothing as pitiful as seeing a quarterback going after a fumble. You guys got a bunch much courage, Lancaster, quarterback.
Towering punt by Hank Olisic. It bounces back towards the line of scrimmage. And the Calgary Stampeders, Les Kaminsky, brings it out to the 39-yard line. Barrett throws to the sidelines for a first down to Carter. Well, don't give him a first down.
You know, they've got the nucleus back, and so they're just going to keep getting better.
Sharon unable to hang on, or did he make the catch?
Boy, that was a fantastic job of making that catch, and they're going to go for it here, I'm pretty sure. They're short, but they'll go for it. They just shoots it right out there to him, and he bobbles it. Watch here. But then he turns, and in the act of falling down, does a complete twist and gets the ball before it hits the ground. Quarterback sneak.
Danny Barrett drives to the 50-yard line.
Come out of the huddle.
Get him in, get him out, let's go.
Incomplete. Looking for Tommy Scott. Barrett in trouble. He won't get a chance to throw it back at the 45-yard line. It's a loss of 5. There's also a penalty flag in the play.
That's a good call. That is an excellent call.
Players.
Watch this. He's got a hold of his head. Now watch what he does.
Thought he was handling some baggage at that Las Vegas airport.
Vilovich is not going to be happy.
From the 45, the pass incomplete, intended for Nate Johnson. Barrett's pass is picked off. The second interception for Dennis Clay. And all the way back to the 33-yard line. The interception by Dennis Clay. And a return of 42 yards, giving Toronto instant field position. Les Brown picks up a couple of yards. Let's go back and take a look at that interception by Dennis Clay.
What's the important thing here is Clay steps right in front of Tommy Scott and makes the interception. Now, you always teach your guys on defense, block the most dangerous man, and that is the receiver. Watch William Mitchell comes back, bang, he knocks off the defender.
Watch Paul Bennett make a block there.
Good block for him. That's how you win games. Everybody doing your job.
Second and 8. Over the middle. Jan Carinci to the 20-yard line. First down, Toronto. Well, tomorrow night on CBC television, you'll be able to watch the Montreal Concord against the British Columbia Lions. That will immediately follow the Olympic opening ceremonies. Well, the Concord would like to enjoy some of the glory years of the Montreal Alouettes. But it is the Montreal Concord and the BC Lions tomorrow night. Bob Bronk, his first carry of the ball game, just a couple of yards, stopped by Lyle Wozniacki.
I think we ought to point out, though, that although Bronk hasn't carried the football throughout the entire contest, he's a vital part of that offense because he leads every play. Whatever direction he goes is normally the direction that the quarterback goes, and his is the last key block on the contain man, and he usually does a pretty good job of getting that job done.
And when he was injured late last season, they certainly missed him over the final part of the season and through the playoffs, even though they did go on to win the Grey Cup.
Boy, he does a good job for him.
Yeah, you look where number 34 is. He's out there doing a job blocking right now. And watch Paul Pearson. Watch Paul Pearson do it again. Out of bounds now. I'm telling you, this guy makes more big plays.
You're not rubbing it into our friend, Mr.
You got to lighten up.
I'm just trying to tell Lancaster that And if Lancaster votes for anybody else tonight for the offensive game star.
But Leo, I think your point is well taken. Paul Pearson really understands that Toronto offense.
That's the key.
He really does, and he probably understands it better than anybody outside of the quarterbacks. And he makes up for anything that he doesn't have in speed with his great knowledge of the game and his great hands.
Leading receiver in the CFL. This is first and goal from the 7-yard line, and Bob Bronk has the touchdown.
Well, he's got to be very happy. He doesn't get the opportunity to score too many touchdowns.
Well, Ron, you know,
comes open.
The guy usually that doesn't get covered is the last guy out of the backfield. And they've got everybody else pretty well covered, but Bronk goes up to do what he normally does, to block, and then just slides right out into the flat, and nobody is on him. He's all up there by himself, and somebody has to recover from the inside and try to make the play, and it's too late.
Bob Bronk, a native of Winnipeg, played his minor football in the Manitoba capital, went to Queen's University.
And guess who's holding the ball?
Jan Carinci.
Jan Carinci does everything.
And Hank Galisic has another point with 6:37 remaining in the ball game.
And Barnes hits him.
He just stepped up there and froze for a second, Ron, to give the illusion that he was going to block again, and then slid out in the flat, and the people went into coverage, and an inside safety had to come across and try to...
Vavra. Indication they want the University of Calgary dinosaur star, Greg Vavra, to be in there at the quarterbacking spot. Mel Jenkins returns it to the 40-yard line. Upset there by Paul Bennett.
You're hurting Quarles and Barrett with all that heat.
Pass incomplete, intended for Carter.
There's been a lot of changes and a lot of things that have come up that, through no fault of his own, he's got himself in a tough situation.
Now there's a case of Barrett throwing that ball up when he should not have, and it's picked off by Dennis Clay.
He had no idea where the ball was going. He just, out of desperation and probably frustration, got back there and just, rather than taking his licking and taking the loss like he should have at this stage of the game, he just let it go up in the air, intercepted.
Watch James Curry. He puts a great rush on it, and you're right, he should never throw it. Watch number 74. You can't throw a ball like that.
You can't do that, Ron. You just can't do it.
See, Don, you know, we're talking about the quarterback situation. Here's a guy like Barrett and Quarles. They're both in their second year, and they need all kind of a playing time and experience. You got to stick with them. Go with them.
Dennis Clay did a good job in hanging on to that football after taking quite a hit.
2 big interceptions for the rookie.
They counter inside. Paul Pearson very close to a first down.
They like that play. They get all that motion out of there, and then they bring that slot back inside. Pearson takes it, and he just cuts inside. That's good yardage.
He can run a little bit too, Kenny Ryan.
That's not. He picked the hole very well. Nice hole.
Are we to assume that number 25 is your nomination, perhaps, for the offensive player?
I think in lieu of the fact that he should have had it a couple weeks ago, that he should definitely have it tonight.
I'm glad we're not voting for Shenley's tonight.
Well, there's no doubt Paul Pearson has made quite a contribution to the Argonaut offense tonight. Oh, that pitch to Lester Brown. It went flying way back, and Brown is back to his own 49-yard line. But the Argonauts, leading 42-17, are in the fortunate position of being able to afford those type of mistakes.
I don't know that Lester Brown again didn't see the ball. It's almost a duplication of what happened on that one that he missed as a pass receiver and went right through his arms.
Sure did. I know Lester wears glasses and wears contacts in the games, but boy, that one went right through there.
Third and 26 now. Take another look at it.
Isn't that right? Joe kind of overpowered that toss a little bit. Lester was a little close to him, but it still went right through his arms.
There's an injured Toronto ball player. Dan Ferrone is down on one knee.
Boy, they can't afford to lose him. They're getting thin in that offensive line.
Boy, they've had a couple go down tonight.
Okay, they've got a fine young Canadian offensive line that has become veterans overnight because they've been together now for 3 years. And they've got the size, and they've just done a great job. You know, in there tonight, Ian Beckstead is in there at the center position, which is something new for him. And Hamelick has been in there a little bit. You saw him snap the ball, and because the timing was bad, make a bad snap. But Hamelick and Ferrone and Prunster and Malinowski have been a very, very efficient offensive line. Not going to get too much accomplished without an offensive line.
The ball bounces away from Nate Johnson. It will roll out of bounds back at the 8-yard line.
The ball is a knuckleball coming down, and you make your decision. You're either going to catch it or get away from him. But boy, he was awful close. He's lucky it didn't hit him and come back.
52 yards, the length of the punt by Hank Olisic. A reminder that tomorrow night we'll be at the stadium at BC Place as the BC Lions entertain the Montreal Concord. And for all BC Lion fans, a reminder that the starting time has been moved ahead. It is 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and on CBC television it will immediately follow the opening ceremonies of the 1984 Summer Olympic Games from Los Angeles. Another game tomorrow, Winnipeg at Hamilton. On Sunday, Saskatchewan is in Ottawa. Barrett is down by James Curry at the 1 inning remaining. Little swing pass to Nate Johnson, stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Now the Stampeders will be punting out of the end zone on 3rd down. The Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Nice kick.
Good kick out of the end zone by Mike McTagg. And Jan Carinci runs it back to the 50-yard line. A 59-yard kick by Mike McTagg. Carinci brought down by Mark Nelson. Tomorrow, Winnipeg at Hamilton, Montreal at British Columbia. The game you'll see on CBC television immediately following the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games. And on Sunday, Saskatchewan is at Ottawa, and it's a big weekend of activity in Ottawa. There is no running room inside as Rob Forbes is hit right at the line of scrimmage.
I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the Concord play tomorrow. I've always enjoyed them last year, watching them. We haven't had the opportunity to do any of their games yet.
I want to see here if Coach Obilovich has instructed Joe Barnes to perform a courtesy here and keep the ball on the ground, or whether Joe's going to try to fatten his batting average. What do you think?
Fatten the batting average. Make the first down.
He sure is going to try to.
It was deflected by Steve Cox, or the Calgary Stampeders had, I think, a certain interception.
Oh, it was. Dead on. And Cox made a great play. He tried to make the catch, but he didn't make that, but he sure prevented an interception.
2:13 the time left to play. It'll be a pleasant plane ride home for the Toronto Argonauts.
They're going right after the game. Going to be home around 7 a.m.
Red Eye Special.
You going with him, Leo?
No, I'm going with you.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know.
We're going to Vancouver.
You got it.
And I'm going to hurry sundown.
Nate Johnson steps out of bounds at the 17-yard line with 2:04 remaining in the ball game. A 37-yard kick by Hank Olisic. Well, the Stampeders tonight have the chance to take over sole possession of first place in the Western Conference. They will remain tied with British Columbia, Winnipeg, and Edmonton, having played one more game than Edmonton and two more than both Winnipeg and British Columbia. Nate Johnson has a pickup of about 5 yards.
You better be careful with that throw because Clay almost got it.
Boy,
If he picks that off, he walks 15 yards.
Incomplete. Tommy Scott, the intended receiver. He has yet to make a catch in tonight's ball game.
There was 2:04 on the clock when Calgary got the ball. There's 1:47 and they're kicking. So that's the difference between a veteran ball club and a rookie ball club.
Cox on the punt return, brought down at the 51-yard line. Steve Cox started the game wearing sweater number 9 in that first half. On a punt return, he had his sweater torn, so he is now wearing number 31. It's 1st and 10 for the Toronto Argonauts from the 51 with 1:38 left to play. Illicik with a big performance tonight, contributing 18 points to the Toronto cause. Pass is complete for a first down. Out of bounds goes Paul Pearson.
That was a nice play. He knew he was going to get hit. He took the look. The ball was there. He knew he was going to get hit. He cradled it into the arms and took the hit and made the first down. That's concentration. That's what you're supposed to do.
Well, there was a time when they would look up at the scoreboard and say it's 42-17. Let's give them a rest. But here we come out with a bootleg pattern right here, and going for as much as they can get, and they're trying to get another touchdown out of it, it looks like, and Paul Pearson gets himself open again for a nice catch.
8 receptions for 79 yards.
You know, you have to remember, too, that the Argonauts don't really have a ball control offenses or the running game. They like to throw that football, and there's no reason to change. Keep throwing it.
Mike Hamiluk is limping off, Don. I know you're just going to say that.
He's been limping quite a bit in the fourth quarter. Well, their offensive linemen are going to need some days to get well.
Well, Hamiluk was injured earlier in the ball game. He was able to return. And they are definitely becoming a little short-staffed along that offensive line with the number of people who have picked up bumps and bruises and some minor hurts tonight. Paul Pearson had some running room and then tripped up at the 40-yard line.
He had the hole inside, and he stepped in like he was going to go, and he saw it wide open outside, and he lost his balance.
3 consecutive 100-yard games in pass receiving coming into this one. He had 108 yards last Sunday in the victory over the Edmonton Eskimos. Tonight he's got 79 yards as a pass receiver. He's carried the ball twice for 11 yards.
Here comes that bootleg pattern again. Joe's going to get caught.
A loss on the play with 49 seconds remaining in the game. 42-17 the score in favor of the Toronto Argonauts. Paul Pearson, the leading pass receiver in the country, coming into the game. He led the CFL with 29 receptions. He's added 7 to that total tonight. He now has 36. Hank Illicik standing at his own 52-yard line for this third down kick. Fumbled the football, still managed to get the ball back, trying to angle it out of bounds. He does. It goes out of bounds in the end zone. So it's a single point for the Toronto Argonauts as Hank Illicik adds to his scoring total in this game and makes it 43-17. The Toronto Argonauts easily handling the Calgary Stampeders tonight here at McMahon Stadium. Second and 19. The pass complete to Tommy Scott. And with that reception, let's see how many yards he's got. Tommy Scott is going to be very close to picking up the yardage that could move him ahead of Tommy Joe Coffey. The executive producer, Barrett, gets the pass away again to Tommy Scott. And that is the final play of the ball game. And with that pass, Tommy Scott should overhaul Tommy Joe Coffey as the all-time career yardage leader in the CFL. 10,323 yards for Tommy Scott. The record coming with the final 2 passes of the football game. And that puts Scott into the record book ahead of Tommy Joe Coffey. But for Scott and his Calgary Stampeder teammates, a most disappointing night here at McMahon Stadium. They were soundly beaten by the Toronto Argonauts 43-17. Offensively, Paul Pearson of the Toronto Argonauts, 7 receptions and a touchdown. Defensively, William Mitchell, who moved to the middle linebacking position after the injury to Darrell Nicholson. So our congratulations to the Carling O'Keefe Sports Game stars, Paul Pearson and William Mitchell. Tonight, Tommy Scott etched his name into the record book, 10,323 career yards. The final score tonight, 43-17, Toronto over Calgary. And now let's hear from Brian Williams at our Olympic Games studio in Los Angeles.